Okay, we're almost at our final part of the design phase. And the reason that we designed all of these graphics like this is because it's going to allow us to quickly swap out some materials and or some images to give us a completely different package. So instead of just working with the blue, when we go into Trio, by enabling these concepts and variants, we can switch to a red graphic or a green graphic or whatever color we need to make these. So to start, what I'm going to do is come up into our server here, and I'm going to add a new project folder in our Design Tutorial 2 folder. I'm going to call this concept equals green, and I'm going to hit OK. So what I'm going to do is take each one of these scenes that we made that are in the concept equals blue folder and copy them into the green folder. Now we could actually hold down the Alt and do that and create a link, but instead of doing that, we're actually going to copy these. So by holding down Control and clicking and dragging, we can do that. I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of these and click and drag those 4 remaining scenes into the green folder. Now what I want to do is to create some green materials here. So I'll just come into our M tab in my concept equals green folder, say create new material, and this is going to be green 1. And I'm just going to double click on it and come in here to our material editor and select some type of green. So maybe I want a couple of different ones. I'm just going to make one of these like this. I'll save that, hit close. Maybe I'll make 2 or 3 of them just in case we might need these. So I'll make another one here. We'll call this one green 2. I'll come into the material editor and maybe we'll make it a little bit brighter green. So let's just work with these 2 for now. That should be enough. I'll go back into my scene. I'm going to open up my first scene here. And what we can do before we do that is actually right click on here and I'm going to rename. So where it says clock underscore variant equals blue, I'm going to rename this to clock underscore variant equals green. And I'll go through each one of these scenes and actually change the name. You can right click, hit rename, type in the new name and hit enter, and that will take care of it. So we got just 2 more here that I'm going to rename, and we'll go ahead and open our first one, the clock variant. So now I'm just going to come into my materials and my green, and I'm just going to slide these green materials and replace my blue materials. So I'm going to open up each one of my containers here and see wherever I have a blue material, I'm going to swap it out for a green material. Again, I didn't spend too much time with these colors. I just quickly made them and kind of made some guesswork out of it. But if you want to spend a little bit more time getting your colors a little bit more accurate, then that's fine too. So each one of these containers here, we can start swapping out. And even if you included some flares within your scene, what we can do is actually swap them out too. So I have a couple of flares in the blue scenes. I used a blue flare. Now I have a green flare up here, so I can just drag these down and replace these as well. Alright, so here's our green graphic, and I'm just going to hit save and close, and I'm going to go ahead and do one more graphic here as an example. So something quick, I'll just do this lower third graphic here. And again, I'm just going to come in and open up my containers here and find any container that has some type of material on it, and I'm going to swap out my blue material with a green material. So here's another one that will swap out, and while you're doing this, you can kind of see what's happening in real time. So drag another material down. You don't have to keep coming up into the server. You can just copy a material down onto the other one from containers. And again, I have 2 flares here that I can replace, so I'll go into my image folder and drag down these green flares to replace it. Now it looks like I missed one, so I'll just go back and grab this light green material and replace it with that. Now my subline bar there has the green as well. I'm going to hit save and close, and let's do one more. So I'm going to go into my scenes. So I just want to do one that has a rectangle in it too. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up this coming up graphic because we do have a couple of rectangles in here that we'll need to change the color. So first I'm going to swap out my materials. So there's my green material, and if I come up in here into my background, I have a couple of rectangles that I'm using to create this color. I'll need to come into our rectangle editor to change the color of the green, and once I choose a green color here, I can just copy these down quickly onto the other color swatches. So in this case, I have 2 black and 2 blue. I'm going to swap out the blue for the green, and then I have 2 more rectangles up here which we can do the same with. So I'll swap out my blue color chips for a green color chip. You can see what's happening here. Here we have one more to do, and I'm just going to make these green and copy them down. Now obviously you may want to change out the color of some of the text if need be too. So for instance, this information, I don't think I want the yellow on there anymore. I'm just going to keep it white. And if you want to go ahead and add a drop shadow to that too, we can come into the text. We'll turn on the shadow here, and I have a blurred font as well. We can go ahead and change the color of that to black. So that's it. We're going to save that one and close it. Now let's go ahead and do another concept here. So this time I want to drag a new folder down here, and let's call this one concept equals red. And again, I can take my scenes and just copy these over. So I'll go ahead and select them all, hold down Control, and drag these into the red area as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and double click on one of these and again start changing out the materials. I'm going to first though create some red materials by coming into my folder and into the M tab, right clicking, saying create new material, and I'm going to call this one red 1. I'll double click on this material and create my first red color that I want to use with this scene. So I'll do a dark red, and I'll make another color here as well. So we'll do red 2, and we'll make this one a little bit brighter. So I'll keep it something like that and hit close. Now I'm just going to come back down into my scene here, open up each container and start dragging down these materials. So some of the containers may be a little hidden, and if you want to do multiple ones at once, you can just select 2 containers, drag the color down, and it will replace 2 of them at once, or multiple ones at once. It doesn't just have to be 2. Again, here's 2 more that I need to replace. I'll drag my red material down. You can see in the scene what's happening. And now again, I have these 2 flares that I'll need to replace. So in my images, I actually have a red flare, and I'll just drag that down to replace both of my green flares in this instance. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and close. And don't forget to come in and rename our scenes. So I'll come in and rename our first one red. We could have done a save as too, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it this way just to keep it a little bit quicker. I'll go ahead and do one more here. So I'll open up this variant red for the coming up. And again, this is using a bunch of rectangles, so I'll come in and change the colors of this rectangle. So I'm just going to go through real quick here and not pay too much attention on what particular color red. So I'm just going to quickly make a color and use that to color it. Here I have 2 green ones. I just replace this again with the red, and the same for this one as well. Once I choose one color, I can just copy these down onto each individual color swatch there. So a couple more to replace. I have this green material and this green material to replace as well. I'll go ahead and hit save, and why don't we go ahead and even attempt to do it on this full page. This one has more containers than the other, so I'll just kind of come through and start going container by container and swapping out what I can. So first, here we have a flare which is blue. I'm going to change that to red. Again, we have another flare, so I can just copy that one down as well and copy that one. Now that group is done. We have it back here, which I'll have to come in and swap out my blue for my red, so I can change the color of that rectangle. We'll do the same thing for this second rectangle here. And as you're making changes, you obviously can see what's happening over here in your render window. All the changes are being handled real time. Again, a couple more rectangles here that we have to swap out the colors. Okay, so I'm going to continue to go ahead and do this. I think you get the idea of what has to be done for all of your scenes. So I'll go ahead and work on this, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, I went through and I've changed the color through all of my graphics here. So we click on a green graphic here. We had all the animations and all the other pieces in place for this to work. So our next step is going to be to take these graphics and actually play them out through Vizrt Trio. And we'll be able to enable the concepts and the variants and have the ability to quickly change from a blue graphic, a green graphic, to a red graphic if need be. So next step, we're going to go ahead and go into Vizrt Trio. We're going to enable the concepts and variants, test our scenes, and play them out through Trio.